I suppose, first of all, let's just deal with this story. It has been floating around a little bit like a turd for the last couple of months. We've covered it a couple of times. You've had credible journalists talking about it, saying it's difficult, but it could happen. You've had rumours that he wants to come back to Manchester. Bruno Fernandes could be leaving Man United in the summer, potentially. So Cole Palmer to Manchester United has always been a story that most of us don't believe will happen, but there's been a little bit of a glimmer of hope. Well, this is what Cole Palmer has said ahead of the game, and I think we can slam the door shut on any Cole Palmer to Manchester United signing, because now we've heard from the player himself. He says, "I've got no plans to move to any other club, and when I see it, I just laugh. Obviously, Manchester is my home. All my family are there, but I don't miss it. Maybe I'll miss it if I don't go for 3 months or something. But then when I get home, I think there's nothing for me here anyway." So that is a complete and utter snub, not only of Manchester United, but Manchester City and any other club that's in Manchester, because he misses his family, but when he goes there, he doesn't miss Manchester. So Cole Palmer, Man United, I think we can well and truly park that in any way, shape or form. And obviously, if Bruno left, Cole Palmer would be a dream signing, but it would be a very difficult deal to do, and he's clearly slamming the door firmly shut on that, which is probably why we're seeing this confusing Morgan Rogers story, because maybe if Bruno was to leave, maybe that's where Carrick and Wilcox want to go towards Morgan Rogers. So maybe that explains why in the last 7 days there's been so many stories about Morgan Rogers, because if United do need to go for a 10 because Bruno decides to go, and you probably would, then maybe you go for Morgan Rogers, who you can mix and match with Cunha in relation to one can play on the left, one can play number 10. So maybe that's what that's all about. But look, you know what? It would be difficult for Cole Palmer to come to Manchester United now, having slammed the door on it and said he doesn't, miss Manchester. But look, in some ways, I actually appreciate the honesty, because there's so much that needs to get done this summer transfer window. I don't want to be wasting times on maybes and fantasy. We've got so much that needs to get done, and knowing that Cole Palmer's off the table, at least we can move on. Exactly. Now the big story for me this morning is Nagelsmann. So the situation with Nagelsmann is that Liverpool are looking at him, but may well be keeping slots, and maybe that helps. He does and is interested in the Manchester United job, but Real Madrid is also an option. Now, Manchester United or Real Madrid, there's no indication that Real Madrid is his dream destination. It's just that Liverpool, Real Madrid and Manchester United are all options for Nagelsmann this summer, who is looking and open to leaving the German national team after the World Cup. Man United against Real Madrid, which way do you think that goes? But more importantly, and this is where United, I said this at the start of the week, and it's already too late, snooze and you bloody well lose. And this is United, because we are snoozing. We've had 3 months to be working on this, and they sit there going, well, it might be Carrick. And this has always been the problem. The board are rubbish. They're so bad. You've had 3 months. Look, I know it's a well-trodden path, but this is United's most significant transfer in a long, long time. This summer, in a long, long time. I don't think there's a United fan out there that's fooled by qualifying for the Champions League and thinking we're back. I think we all know, especially in light of what's happened in the last 24 hours with Euro, we all know this squad cannot deal with 2 games a week. Yoro's had a lot of injuries for a 20-year-old, by the way. Mainu picks up injuries for a 20-year-old. Luke Shaw's not picking up injuries, but he's 30, 2 games a week next year. De Ligt's not even back. Martinez, Maguire's 33. We haven't replaced the midfield yet. What's happening with Bruno? Cunha and Mbeumo are playing out of position. Ahmad's struggling for form. Dalot and Mazraoui, will leave it there. This squad is so scary going into next season, playing 2 games a week. This summer, around the manager and signings, is absolutely huge, and it doesn't feel like they've prepped for it at all. And look, you'll get the people going, you don't know what's going to happen. I would concede that we don't know what's going to happen, but we do have a lot of evidence over the last few years where we go into the January transfer market and we say, I bet we won't do anything, even though we need to, and people go, wow, you don't know that, and then it hits January the 31st and we don't do anything. We go into a summer transfer window and go, it doesn't look like we're prepared for this at all. Well, you don't know that, and then we come out of the summer transfer window not prepared at all. Like, it's not difficult to predict with United, and also they do leak like a sieve. So if we were in advanced talks with Adam Wharton and he's going to sign in June, we'd probably know by now. We probably would. So I just think the lack of noise is, and this is why Sir Jim Ratcliffe should have stuck to what he said at the start and recruited best in class. You appoint a guy from Man City who's never been a CEO, and you give him the CEO job, and then you get this last 2 years. That's not best in class. That's a punt. You go and get a guy who's had 1 year as director of football at Southampton and they get relegated, and that's not best in class either. So we're paying the price of taking a punt on a CEO, a director of football, and an ownership that clearly aren't best in class. So Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos are clearly not best in class. His CEO is clearly not best in class, and his director of football is clearly not best in class. And that is why we are sat here in the middle of April going, what is it we're doing? And I think all we're doing, and it's been said by you many times, we're on our hands and knees praying that Carrick works a miracle from this point. Because if Carrick works a miracle, but even then it doesn't solve the problem, does it? If Carrick wins a load of games playing good football and they go, give him the job, he's then got to put up with the board in the summer and what they're going to deliver for him, and he'd still be exposed next season. Even if Carrick's good at the job, which is obviously up for debate, even if Carrick's good at the job, will he survive next season with this squad and what the club are going to deliver this summer? And I think that's a very, very fair point.